should be BEET with Manai.
Amen.
And you should be able to dance by his chasna on Tish. You should be relevant. You should be healthy and relevant.
Relevant. Oh, I like that.
You know what's going to happen is your son's going to be making chasna, and you go to him and say, you're going to go to him and you're going to say,
he's doing three things at once. Yeah, no.
I know he doesn't want to delegate any of them.
Oh, Akiva should be relevant too.
I'm not sure why he's playing live that we hear it.
No, because it's in the background. It's YouTube. You have to go to YouTube behind you and mute it. Otherwise, you'll hear yourself.
Okay.
See, in the second folder, you got to mute. And or you close it.
Only he can hear it though, because he has a headset.
Right.
Okay, now I've muted it.
Okay.
So it's still recording, but we don't hear it.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Let me get rid of Reese's picture. We don't need that anymore.
I
Okay. Let me find my screen share.
Shlomi, just as when we have a moment, ABC is going to summer schedule. You know, a lot more reruns, lighter fluff on the air. Make people think too much, right?
We're going to Monday, Thursday format, right?
I think so. Yeah, Monday, Thursday, and later on Shabbos, Erev Shabbos.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of 4:30, we'll go to 5:30, or if you want, even 6.
What was if I may ask, what was the impetus for moving this year earlier?
Because we want to get back to, because people are going to Minyanim.
Right.
So, besides, it's a good time to get back into a regular schedule.
You should do the roving reporter for us. You know, scenes from different minyanim.
That's a good idea. Right.
You could do the scene
Live.
And rate the minyanim.
Right.
Be like a Jimmy Kimmel thing. Go out.
Yeah, we should ask people to send in pictures.
When there were still going to be a minyan in shul, so then Mintzberg wanted to join one of the backyard minyanim. Once they canceled minyan in shul, he didn't want to join the backyard minyan. He was very makbid on that. So he said, if they're going to allow minyanim in shul, I'm looking for a backyard minyan because anu matirin lehispal avaryonim. Okay. Zog the Heilige Mishnah. Minayin lepeletes shechva zera v'yom hashlishi shi tamei. The halacha is shechva zera has a tumah to it, and not only if a male is peled shechva zera, if a woman has shechva zera in her, and it exits her body, it makes her tamei that day. But the question is how long does the shechva zera in her body remain potent, so that it will still have a din tumah if she was poiled. So we're making an assumption that it's 3 days. How do we know that 3 days after a woman is poiled shechva zera, how do we know that it'll make her tumah? Shenemar, because it says in the pasuk, Heyu nechodim l'shalosh yomim. So really, before we start the sugya, we have to remind ourselves of this parsha that we just learned it on the first day of Shavuos. Meyer learned it Erev Yom Tov, but let's just review the parsha quickly because the Gemara is going to be based on this parsha. So let's see where it has right before the whole parsha over here. L'chodesh hashlishi, let's say Bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'yem hazeh bar midbar Sinai. So the first thing is we got to midbar Sinai in the 3rd month, and the Gemara is going to tell us shortly that means Rosh Chodesh. V'yisam afidim v'yavo midbar Sinai v'yachem b'midbar v'yichan sham Yisrael neged har. This is Akiva's favorite pasuk. Ki ish echad v'leif echad. Moshe Allah Elokim, that day Moshe went up, or we'll see if it was that day. V'yikra elav Hashem in the har lemor. Hashem called down to him from the mountain. Elamer, Koisemer Leveis Yaakov v'Sagil of Israel. Atem Reisem. Asher Sisel Matrayim v'Eschem al Kamfen Yesharim v'Eschem Eloi v'Atem Shmor Tishmu v'Koili v'Shmartem Sprisi v'Shemisukulim Kalam V'Li Kol Haaretz v'Atem P'li Yolim v'Mechos Kainen v'Goy Kodesh Ela Dvar Masher Tadaber B'nei Yisrael. I'm not sure if this was the first day. We're going to see this might be out of order. But the one day, this was called the Yom HaMiyuchos, like we discussed. It was the day that Hashem said that we're going to be big stuff. Then V'yavi Moshe v'yikra l'zich ne'am v'yosem ufnei miskol advarim me'ela shetzva Hashem v'yanach l'miyata v'yomu kol ashadiv Hashem naseh. And then Moshe went up again. V'yosef Moshe tivri amal Hashem. Then Hashem told Moshe, v'yom Hashem Moshe hinei lichi b'lechem ba'avonam ba'avishon v'la b'imach v'nam b'chayim min l'olam v'yagid Moshe tivri amal Hashem. Again he went up. So the second time he went up, here is where he told them they have to be punished for their wives. You have to be prepared for the third day. So this was the time when Moshe Rabbeinu was giving them all the restrictions and all the rules of the Moshe Torah. And it goes on and on. Then he said, so this is the important halacha that we're starting with now. You're not allowed to have relations with your wife. So for 3 days, they were told that they have to stay away from their wives. So that teaches us that Shich V'Zera would be a problem for 3 days. And therefore, they have to stay away for 3 days. We should probably see Rashi, because it's going to get a little bit complicated. The Gemara is going to be analyzing what exactly is the cheshbon of 3 days, and is it really 3 days, or maybe it's 2 days, or is it part of 3 days? So there's a lot of sheets. So let's see the Rashi here.
Just a correction, Yosy. My favorite pasuk is actually Vayas Kole V'Sa'om, the biggest media manipulation until Trump. That's for the record. But this was said on Yom HaMiyuchas.
That's correct.
It was said on Yom HaMiyuchas. That's
right. Shitma, the Yom HaShlishi, Akati Loi Misracha Shich V'Zera. On the third day, the Shich V'Zera is not yet Saruach, it's still Tomei. So the third day is Tomei, the fourth day would be Tar. So because in the third day it's not Misracha yet, Ruya Likloit, it could still take effect. The Liyas Vlad, it could still fertilize an egg. The Hikbet Akosov al Tumas Keri with Matan Torah. The pasuk was makbid al Tumas Keri by Matan Torah. The Yud changes the next word to Kasavar al Yom HaPrisha Ka'amar. That we're talking about the Yom HaPrisha. The Bedalid B'Shabbos Parshum Nishasayim. They already separated from Wednesday, so you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Any Play to Shich V'Zera, any one of those days, she would have had to toivel before Shabbos, and then for Shabbos she would be clean. The Kibbutz Torah b'Shabbos Shurevi, it's the fourth day. La'osom sheshimshu mitayseim b'Revi lefnei Prisha. So now already Rashi gave us a hint. Even if someone was mashamish on the fourth on Wednesday, so you don't have a full Wednesday, but Wednesday is counted as day one, even though you don't have all of Wednesday. Then comes Thursday, then comes Friday. You have a total of 3 days of Tumah, and then they would tovel Leilei Shabbos. V'lechash hakosov im b'floitu b'Shabbos. At that point, the pasuk is not concerned if she would be poiled Shich V'Zera, because it's already too late. It's past the third day. The Misrach ve'ein the Shich V'Zera haroy l'Azriya. Avol polta erev Shabbos b'Shlishi, but if she expelled Shich V'Zera on Friday, which would have been within the first 3 days, then Timei shall be tummy the kach frishin shloshiyam. So, in order that we shouldn't think that it's some type of best before date that expires after a certain time has elapsed, clearly you see from Rashi that it's a din in 3 days, meaning even if you don't have 72 hours that elapsed because there was a bia on Wednesday itself, but you still count Wednesday as day 1, Thursday as day 2, and Friday as day 3. So you see that it's the 3 days that passes the Shich V'Zera.
Where did Rashi get the idea that there was such a thing as tefillah? There's no mention of it anywhere.
The Gemara is
Even
going to be discussing it shortly.
I
The Gemara
will.
gets into great detail.
There's no
So what's
such,
interesting,
because
sorry?
Tamei Mace, I don't think it existed until the Paraduma was shechted, I think, for the first time.
Oh, so you're asking a very good
under
question. You're asking there was no such thing as Toma
That's
before the Torah
right.
was given. So what are we worried about?
That's
Beautiful, beautiful kasha. So let's learn Toshus. Frek Toshus, exactly your kasha. Afal pi sheba oisa shah adayin lo nitna Torah.
right.
So how could there was no Tuma? You're literally putting the cart before the horse. We're worried about Tuma that they didn't even have yet. So emphasizes mikol makim mistama hikpida Torah al dover she'osad liyos Tuma achematan Torah. Frek the Tosis your kash as well. V'afagav like pida al zovin and with tzaroy in the boil anidos, or you asked the Tumei Mace. So tomorrow Haim Shum Taima, the Tanya Beperek Misha Mesu, Ksiv Oidatin Levanecha Levlevanecha, Ksiv Yoim Asher Matat Lefne Hashem Lakecha B'choyev, Mala Halon, just like by Kabbalah Torah was Be'ema Ubiyir of the rest of Isaiah, so too every time you learn Torah, it has to be Be'ema Ubiyir of the rest of Isaiah. Mikan Amru, Zovin Mutzarayna Boila Nidos Mutarin Likras Batar Benivim, Ulushas B'Mishnah, Ulushas. But only Balakari are usher, Pirish, the Balkari, Eine, Be'emu, Be'yera, the Machmas Kalas Roishuba. So it's not even about the Tumah. It's about what led to the Tumah. Bia has a little bit of lightheartedness to it, and it's that part that clashes with the Torah. So the Bia and all of its repercussions clash with the Torah.
So there was no tefillah.
Well, there actually was a tefillah, but the reason for it is the only type of tumas that the Torah was makbar on were tumas of Kalas Rosh.
Okay.
But the way you're saying, if it's all about Kalas Rosh, 3 days passed since that Kalas Rosh, so that should be enough. I hear.
Right.
But at least that's why it only picked this tuma. So it wasn't enough tuma. It was.
You would think under normal circumstances you're going to matan Torah and shetavel yourself, right? But there's no indication of that.
Maybe they were in the
Even if you haven't been with your wife.
maybe they were in lockdown.
Maybe.
Can you listen? Okay, but I hear. But your kasha, the Gavalka kasha, Toshus actually brings that up.
Okay.
So that's halacha number one. Halacha number one was, how do you know that Shech Vazera will have its potency for 3 days? Now comes the next child in the Mishnah. Minayin shemarchichin es-hamila v'yom hashlishi. How do you know that you wash the milah on Yom HaShlishi? Shechol Yosh b'Shabbos. Shenemar v'hi b'yom hashlishi b'yoshem koyabim. So you and I, and we all know that Yom Shlishi l'milah, that's the day that it's serious. That's a din on the third day. But Rashi seems to say not like that. Rashi says the af b'yom gimel masukanu, meaning the first day for sure it's masukun, but as each day passes, the level of sakana drops. So how do you know that the threshold between sakana and not sakana is day 3? That's how Rashi knows. So there's nothing special about the third day that it's more masukun. Rather, the Mishnah is trying to tell us that the third day also is masukun. But of course, on the first 2 days, you would also need to wash. So it's actually a machlokas rishonim. Rashi in the Meiri seems to say that all 3 days are dangerous, and the chiddush is even the third day. But there are those rishonim who learn that it's specifically the third day. So the question is, where do we know that there's something special about the third day? We know it from Shechem. Shimon and Levi purposely attacked Shechem on the day that it was the most. So based on Rashi, who says that of course the first 2 days they're Mesukin, but the third day it's also the Afbiyam Mesukin, like the Meiri, why was it necessary for Shimon and Levi to wait for the third day to attack them, to attack Shechem? Why didn't they attack right away on the first day? So he brings down from somebody. Let me see who he brings down from. I'm not sure, but he brings down from somebody that what happened there was they didn't malad the whole city in 1 day. They didn't have enough COVID-19 tests to do everybody in 1 day. So they staggered it. So it took 3 days for them to have everybody in city Gemalit. So they had a dilemma. If they waited too long, the people who were Gemalit would already start recovering and they wouldn't be in the pinnacle of their weakness. But they have to wait till everybody got to bris. So on the 3rd day, everybody had already got their bris. And the people who got the bris on the 1st day were still Kayavim. That's why they attacked on the 3rd day. That's some of the Rishonim have to learn, because otherwise it doesn't make sense why they would have waited for the 3rd day. There's actually a Shaila Halacha, the Mishabur brings down, that if you have, everybody knows a Milah Bismana is Doicha Shabbos. But what if it's a Milah Shaloi Bismana? They couldn't Mala on the 8th day for whatever reason. So now you have a Milah Shaloi Bismana. So we know you don't make that on Shabbos. There are those who fear not to make that on Thursday either. The reason why they wouldn't make it on Thursday is because then Yom Shlishi Lamila would be on Shabbos, and there's a big sakana. So you see clearly there are poskim. I don't think we pass them that way, but there are poskim who learn, like the other tzad, that Yom Shlishi Lamila in particular is the most serious day. Okay. I don't remember, but I know that after I had my bris, I couldn't walk for a year. So I don't know exactly how this works. Zogt El Gemor Vayter. Minayin shekoshrin uloshin shel zahiris b'rosh seir mishtalech. How do you know that they would tie a thread on the horns of the seir mishtalech? Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, im yu chata'echem kashanim kashalag yalbinu. If your averes are like red, they'll become white like snow. And they took half of that thread that they tied on the horns of the seir mishtalech, and they put it in the Beis HaMikdash so that since not everybody was there as the goat was thrown down the mountain, but everybody at the Beis HaMikdash was able to see. It was the closest thing that they had in those days to closed captioning, simulcast. They couldn't actually see a video of it being thrown down, but the closest they saw was they actually were able to see how the red string became white. I remember Rabbi Lowy once spoke on Shabbos Shuvah, and he said over a beautiful word. He said over a story with the Ponovizher Rov, who was, I believe, in South America at the time, who was not a shy person by any means, and he saw on posts, hung up on signposts, that there was going to be an open debate between Orthodox Jewry and Reform Jewry. So that piqued the attention of the Ponovizher Rov, and he decided that he's going to go and attend this debate. And of course, they had on stage an Orthodox rabbi and the Reform rabbi. And as always, the emes always wins. So the Orthodox rabbi was really delivering some knockout punches on the Reform rabbi, and the Reform rabbi was already staggering, bouncing off the ropes, until the Reform rabbi tells the Orthodox rabbi, "Wasn't it you, Rabbi, that I met last week on Saturday in McDonald's? You drove up and then you sat down to order a cheeseburger." And the Orthodox rabbi turned red like a beet. And he couldn't answer. So the Reform rabbi says, so it just goes to show this whole thing is a bunch of nonsense. You just use it as a tool to make yourself feel superior, but you're a fake, phony, and a fraud. And there was an outright knockout punch. Everyone gasped. So the Ponovizher Rov stands up and walks up to the stage and says, "This is an open debate. Can ich etwas sagen? Ich habe etwas zu sagen." So they said, "Sure, it's an open debate. We want to hear. We want no holds barred. We want to hear what everyone has to say." And he turns to the Reform rabbi and he says, "Rabbi, tell me, did you drive on Shabbos?" He says, "Of course I drive on Shabbos. You think I'm going to subscribe to these antiquated biblical laws that have no relevance to our times? Not only do I drive on Shabbos, I'm proud to declare in front of everybody, I drive on Shabbos. And do you eat treifa food like in McDonald's?" He says, "Of course I do. You think I'm going to subscribe to those crazy old ancient laws? I'm proud." So he says, and that's the difference. Because it says in the pasuk of Yu Chatoichem Kashanim, if your aver still make your face go red, look at this Orthodox rabbi. He's so red like a beet, he can't even respond. Then I'll be able to be moichel you, and I'll be able to make you white again. But you who are proud, you are proud of your averes, For you, there's no hope. I remember we took a rabbinical training class in Lakewood. There was a class that was given. They took like 10 or 15 years of life, and they trained us in the practical aspects of being a rabbi. So one of the people who would regularly speak for us was Reb David Cohen, a Poisik in Flatbush. And he told us that he gave a shiur once a week to Rabbanim from Long Island, where there's a lot of Kehillas that aren't completely Shomer Torah mitzvahs. And they were discussing the week that congregation Simchas HaTorah opened up in Manhattan. Now, congregation Simchas HaTorah is the congregation of the happiness, the gay Torah. So it was the first gay synagogue that opened up. And the Rabbanim asked him, new rabbi, what do you say? What do you say about this shul? So I turned to them and challenged them. What's the big deal? They're chayiv skila for Mishkav Zocher. Well, let me ask you, rabbis, do you not have people in your congregations who are Mechal Shabbos, which also is the chayiv skila? So why are you looking at me? Why is it such a big deal? It's no different than your shuls. And they were like taken aback. They were like appalled, like, whoa, we didn't expect you to say that we're just as bad as them. So he says, but of course, there's a huge difference. You don't call your shul Congregation Mechalei Shabbos. That's not what you stand for. That's not what you're proud of. Unfortunately, there are some people that are Mechal Shabbos and you're not proud of it and it's sad, but you try to do what you could to be Makar of them. Their banner of pride is Congregation Geit Simchas Torah. That's what Hashem can't tolerate. People do Averis. Their Boy Shalom has Rachmanosh, and Boy Shalom understands. But someone who's proud of his Averis, that's where there's a problem. So the Gemara weiter. Minayin l'sicha shehi kishtia. How do you know that smearing is just like drinking? B'yoyim HaKippurim, like Abba Yom Kippurim, that you're not allowed to make sicha on Yom Kippurim. So the Mishnah, afal pi shein raya l'dover, even though there's no raya to it, zecher l'dover. There's a zecher to it. Shenemar b'tovoi kamayim b'kirboi l'choshemen b'atzmoiso. It's talking about a curse. The curse will engulf you and saturate you like water inside you, which is a drink, and oil, which is something you smear in your bones. Now, Pachim Shad in Raya means you don't really have Klor Raya. We just have Sukkim to talk about it. Toysus actually indicates that for Keret, it's only a Zechel Dover, because we all know if someone does Sicha on Yom Kippur, he's not Chayiv Koros. If someone eats or drinks on Yom Kippur, he's Chayiv Koros. But for Sicha, he's not Chayiv Koros. Now, based on this halacha, why is it that you don't need a hechsher on soap? If Sicha is Keachila, why don't you need it? Why don't you need a hechsher on soap? So this is actually a shaila if you need a hechsher on soap. So there's a couple of svaris that he brought down why you wouldn't need it. The most Rishonim hold that this halacha, that Sichos Kishtia, is either only related to Yom Kippurim, and therefore it's not negir to kashrus, but there are those who say that it only applies to oil, and therefore, again, it's not negir to soap. But the Mordechai holds that Sicha Kishtia, and the Vilna Gaon had a hakpada, that you were not allowed to use soap that was not kosher. We don't pascha like that. And the Pri Chodesh, the main reason why we don't pascha like it is because most people are soymech on the sheet of the Pri Chodesh, who learns that our soap is pogum. And since it's pogum, there's you're not chayiv for eating something that's pogum. Just like chametz, if it's pogum, you wouldn't be mechuyev for eating it. It's possible. Therefore, there's not an issue.
What's pogum?
The soap, it's not edible. It's you can't eat it. If it was something that's edible, then there'd be a problem of sicha. Maybe you would need a hechsher on your soap.
So if you came to eat it because it's not an edible product, you're not.
So sicha won't be a problem. That's a mokum to be mekel, not to have a hechsher soap. But the Dark Tshuva, in the Dark Tshuva's days, now my shver was alive. His rabbi was the Dark Tshuva. The Dark Tshuva lived in the early 1900s, in the first decade of the 1900s, the first decade of the 20th century. And in those days, a new product came out. It was coconut oil, and it was a soap made out of coconuts. And the Dark Tshuva was a proponent when they had those commercials where they said, "My skin is soft because I use coconut oil." The Dark Tshuva did that commercial. He said, "Use coconut oil; it's kosher," and he was a proponent of that kosher soap. Okay, let's see what the Gemara says weiter. Let's see what the Mishnah says weiter. Zok the Gemara. Reisha, this next thing is going to be a little bit complicated. because it's going to get into the details of how long you have to wait with the Shechva Zera. So the ratio that says that the first 3 days, for a full 3 days, the Shechva Zera's Matama will not be consistent with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. But Seifa, the Seifa of the Mishnah is consistent with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, which is the law of Marchitzin Esamila, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the Hu Amar La Kaman Perik Rabbi Elazar. That's the famous Perik Rabbi Elazar Demila. Rabbi Elazar holds that you are allowed to wash on the 3rd day. So it's a little bit funny that the ratio of our Mishnah is going according to Rabbi Elazar, and the ratio is not consistent with Rabbi Elazar, and the Sefer is consistent with Rabbi Elazar. The Yikra Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Tahara Shmanalei. We learned that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah holds that on the 3rd day the Shechva Zera would be tar. It's only 2 days that it's tummy. So, in the Gemara of Masir, Rashi brings down, there's a shaila. What's better? Is it better to say that the Mishnah is kitanoi, that half of the Mishnah is like one Tana and half of the Mishnah is like another Tana? Or is it better to have some teretz to the Brisa, or to say that the Brisa is mistaken, then you have to change one of the psukim in the Brisa, in the Mishnah. Mandaloi muki kitanoi, the Manda Omer in the Gemara in Bava Metzia, that didn't want to say that there's a machlokes tanoim within our Mishnah, and one halach in our Mishnah is according to one Tana, and the other halach in the Mishnah is according to another Tana, Tana Reisha Tahira. He will actually change the Mishnah, and instead of saying that Shechva Zera b'yom hashlishi is Tameya, he'll learn Shechva Zera b'yom hashlishi is Tahira. And then umukila lakula Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and he can tell on our entire Mishnah according to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Umandamukin kitanoi, and the Mandamer who has no problem, no reservation, learning a Mishnah could be going according to 2 different Tanoim. He'll learn Reish Rabbanon, the Seifa Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. And now we're getting into the beef of the Sugya. Tana Rabbanon, Poileta Shechva Zera, v'yom hashlishi tahira. Divrei Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So this is the Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that we were just referring to, who holds that v'yom hashlishi it would be tahar. Now let's get the exact details of the case. V'yom hashlishi, k'goyin sheshimsha behei, when they had relations on Thursday, upolta Shechva Zera b'Shabbos, and she was poiled Shechva Zera on Shabbos. Loishna shimsha tchilas leil chamishi. It doesn't matter if the relations were Wednesday evening, and if they were Wednesday evening, tishto dalad oinosh shleimois, they would still have 4 full oinosh to count, because they would have Thursday, they would have Wednesday evening, which is leil hay, Wednesday evening. So if the tashmish was tchilas leil chamishi, you still have most of Leil Chamishi in front of you. So you would have Wednesday night, which is Leil Chamishi, the Hay, which would be Thursday. You'd have Leil Vov, which is Thursday night, Uvav. So you have 4 oinos. An oina is either a day or a night. You'll have 4 full oinos until Shabbos arrives. Or Loish Nashimsha Yom Hay Im Chashecha, or even if the Tashmish was on Thursday, even towards the evening, the Lo Yishtoi Al Mikta say, then you only have part of Thursday day, the Leil Vav on Thursday night, Uvav. So you only have 3 oinos, the Leka Lebeis oinos shleimois, and Rashi tells us that her oina is oyoim oylaila. So that's the Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah who holds that Shechva Zera, the Yom HaShlishi Tahira, is even if the Tashmish was as late as Thursday in the afternoon, it would still be Tar Kam Shabbos. Divi Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Pa'amim Shein Dalad Oinos, he's the much stricter. Sometimes you need 4 full Oinos, Pa'amim Shein Hey Oinos, sometimes it's 5, Pa'amim Shein Vav Oinos. So clearly Rabbi Shmuel would never allow on the 3rd day, because you need to have a minimum of 4 Oinos, but it could lead up to a maximum of 6 Oinos. And how does that work out? Zokt Rashi, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, Pa'amim Shein Balachlo, he's coming to argue under Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and say you need 3 days. And he's saying that if she was Poiled Shechva Zera on the 3rd day, counting from the day of Tashmish, in fact, she will be Tameh. But if she was Poiled on the 4th day, would be Tar, which is consistent with our Mishnah. However, Rabbi Shmuel will be makel that you don't need 6 full einus. He holds, however, the mixes hayom kekulai. You can count part of the day. The lahikpida Torah ela b'minyan shel hayomim v'lo b'minyan einus. We don't need 6 full einus. We only need at least part of 3 days. So the Gemara lists off what they are. Upamishen dalad einus shleimos. You could have 4 full einus. Shem shimsha dalad b'Shabbos im chashecha. If she was Mishamish Wednesday afternoon, but it was still on Wednesday, then play Tasa Tameya at Chilas Shabbos, because you have part of Wednesday, but you have Wednesday night, which is a full Aina. You have Thursday day, which is a full Aina. Thursday night, Friday day, Friday night. So then you're going to have only 4 full Ainas because she was Mishamish Wednesday during the day. Sometimes you'll have 5 Ainas. If the Tashmish was all the way in the morning of Wednesday, then you'd have 5 full Einos. And if her Tashmish was the beginning of Tuesday night, so then you have Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday. So you have 6 full Einos. So you need the 3 days, but you don't need 3 full days. It's enough if you have partial days. That was Rabbi Shmuel Shita. Yes.
So are we saying that Einis is a full day, or are we saying that
it's either a day or a night?
So I'm saying, is it counted when you say Yom Shlishi? That's Einis is also part of the is counted a day, or you need it? Like, is it mitzvahs kulai, or is it that each one?
Well, on the beginning, he's saying mitzvah yom kulai, which means even if you only had part of Wednesday, which means Tashmish was the Wednesday afternoon, so you only really have 4 full Einos. You have Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, so you only have 4 full Einos, but that little bit of Wednesday afternoon counts. That will say you count Wednesday as day 1, Thursday as day 2, Friday as day 3, and then Friday night you could toivel, and then she will be tar.
So Eina could be counted as part of a full day.
Yes, you'll say miktas hayom b'kulay, miktas ha'oina kekul hayom, right? Even though she only has part of the
differentiate. Why do we have to differentiate between the 2 oinas? Why not just keep it like we say miktas hayom, and that covers?
Very good question, because it's going to be relevant according to the next Manda Omar, where the oinas do count. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the next sheet. Very good. Until now, it's either miktas hayom or not. Why start splitting it into half a days? Because the next mandavar does split it into half a days. That's a very good point. Rabbi Kiva Omer la'olam hey, you need 5 full oinos, and therefore the mitzvah miktas oina rishona. If you're missing part of the first oina, nois law miktas oina shishis, it extends into the next day. And Rashi explains it very clearly. Rashi says nois law miktas oinas vav lahashlim hey. So you need 5 full oinos. So what you would need is Friday day, Thursday night, Thursday day, Wednesday night, and then Wednesday day. So you would need 5 full oinos. So from Wednesday morning, she could not have been Mishamish. If she was Mishamish Tuesday night, there's no problem, because you have Wednesday day, Wednesday night, Thursday day, Thursday night, and Friday day, you have 5 full oinos. Well, what if she was Mishamish sometime on Wednesday? So then you don't have 5 full oinos. So because of that, she cannot toivel Friday night, or if she has a plate of Friday night, she'll still be tamei, and you have to include Friday night into the count that you need a 5th oina. So that's where it's relevant. Oinas count. You don't have to add a whole other day, but you just have to add the missing oina. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara says. Amru Rabbanon Kamei Papa. The Rabbanon said this in front of our Papa. But Amrullah, there are those who say that it was Rav Papa who said it to Rabba. Bishlam Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Kirabbanon, the Amri Behei of a Prisha. So this is now we're getting to a whole new shaila of what day of the week the Prisha was. At what day of the week was it when Moshe Rabbeinu told them you have to separate? So Rashi gives us a little bit of background. Rashi says, Pluto de Rabbanan Rabbi Yosy bebraisa. There's a machlokes between Rabbanan and Rabbi Yosy the Braisa. Umaisila b'harpirkala kaman, and the Gemara is going to delve into it a little bit later in the pair. The Rabbanon behave Shabbos pirshu. According to the Rabbanon, it was Thursday that they were purged from their wives. Ulu Rabbi Yosy, and according to Rabbi Yosy, Bedalit, it was on Wednesday that they separated from their wives. Ulu Chula Alma b'Shabbos nitnu Aser Shedibros. Everybody agrees that the Aser Shedibros was given over to Klal Yisrael on Shabbos. V'chivin de b'Shabbos nosnu, since the Aser Shedibros were given over Shabbos day, al korchach b'Lil Shabbos tovlu. They must have toveled Friday night. V'loy shachris. It doesn't make sense that they would have toveled the morning of, right? They'd go to the mikveh quickly before shachris, before they attended the Aser Shedibros, because the Gemara tells us later, it's not right that some women will go straight to Kabbalah Torah, and some women are not going to Kabbalah Torah. They're avoiding first to go to the mikveh. That would not have been appropriate. So we know that everybody had to have toveled Friday night in preparation for Kabbalah Torah that was Shabbos day. Zok the Gemara, therefore, Hilchach, Bishlam Rabbi Lozer, who holds that you only need 2 oynos, you could say Kirabanon, the Armi Bechamisha B'Shabbos of a Prisha, because you have Thursday and you have Friday, and day 3 is not a problem anymore. V'yesh shaloi pirshu ela im chashecha. There are those that did not stop until evening time. Umidid tavlu leil Shabbos, and since they toveled Friday night, v'lei chashu shema tiflatena oi, and they weren't worried that they would have another emission of zera that would then render them tamei again. Shema mina the piletes begimel tahira. It must be that if zichva zera comes out of a woman on the 3rd day from the bia, it's not nugea. It's non-consequential. U'mitzvah hayoim shel tashmish kakulai. And they also hold mitzvah kakulai. So if there was tashmish done Thursday, sometime during the day, even if it was Thursday afternoon, but the fact is, part of Thursday there was no bia, and you have Allah Friday. Those are the 2 days, and then Friday night you can go to the mikveh. So that would fit in very good. That Rabbi Lazar can hold, Rabbi Lazar with Azariah can hold like the Rabbanan, who hold that they only separated from their wives on Thursday, and Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosy, Damar Bedalit David Prisha, and Rabbi Shmuel, who held that it's either 4 oynos, 5 oynos, or 6 oynos, he would fit in beautifully with the Rabbanan. Zok Rashi, Rabbi Shmuel Damar Begimel Tmeya Bedalit Tahira. Rabbi Shmuel holds that on day 3, if she's poilet shich v'zera, she will be tamei. But if she's poilet shich v'zera on day 4, she's not tamei. Because Savar holds Bedalit Ovud Prisha. They actually started separating from their wives already on Wednesday. Rabbi Yosy, which would be consistent with Rabbi Yosy, who held that on Wednesday, before Kabbalah Torah, is when the men separated from their wives. The Havalei Shabbos Revi, that would make Friday night day number 4. Umiyu, however, Yeshaloi Pishu Atzamach Lichashecha. There are those who, even though on Wednesday they separated from their wives, but it was Wednesday afternoon that they first separated from their wives. The Lekal Dalet Oynos, and then you'd only have 4 complete oynos. You have a half oyno, which is Wednesday afternoon until Wednesday night, but then the 4 full oynos you should have is Wednesday night, Leil Hay, Hay is Thursday, Leil Vav is Thursday night, and Vav is Friday. You have those 4 oynos, and then that night they went to the mikveh, which was considered as day 4. Once they toveled, any other emissions that they'll have will not be a problem. The Torah, the Torah, like Mechi said, is not focused on oynis. It's focused on days. And you have 3, at least part days. Therefore, on the 4th day, which would have been Friday night, there would be no more Tumah on it. Elov Tomorrow. So we have a way to explain your blessing with Azariah. We have Rabbi Shmuel Yosy. Ela Rabbi Kiva, come on. Who is Rabbi Kiva going to fit in with? Now, Rabbi Kiva said no matter what, you have to have a full 5 oynos. So, Frek the Gemara, Ela Rabbi Kiva, Damar Kol Hey Oynos, Tmeya, you need a full 5 oynos, Im Tifloit, Mikam, Im Tifloit, Kaman. Who would he fit in with? Umehecha Lamad, how does he know that oynos kapit kra? Hayamim Ksiv, the Kaimala Mixriya and Gakulai. We know Mitzvah Kulai. We know that at the earliest that the Prisha occurred was on Wednesday. We know we have a choice between Wednesday or Thursday. Even if the Prisha occurred on Wednesday, since it's Mitzvah Kulai, we know that even if they were Mishamish Wednesday afternoon, they were still good to go come Friday night. That would not fit in with Rabbi Kiva, because if they were Mishamish Wednesday afternoon, you don't have 5 Falonis. You only have 4 Falonis, because you have Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday. But you need according to Rabbi Kiva, you need at least one more oina, one full oina. So who would he fit in like? According to them, you would have needed an extra day. So that's our problem. El Rabbi Kiva, come on. So Yosy. Really, he'll hold like Rabbi Yosy. Really, he'll hold like Rabbi Yosy that holds. Let's just see what we had. Rabbi Yosy holds that on Wednesday was the pre-show. However, could the Amar of Agudah Bar Ava, it's gonna if you know how Rav Agudah Bar Ava described the sequence of events, it'll all make sense. Because he said, Moshe v'ashkama Allah u'vashkama Yored. Moshe always went up to Har Sinai early in the morning, and he always came down early in the morning. How is that relevant? Zokt Rashi, La'ayim Rabbi Kiva Rabbi Yosy, U'charav Agudah the Amar Moshe Kol Ali Yosef. Anytime he went up, Bashkama Allah, it was very early in the morning. V'chol Yiridosav, and whenever he landed, Bashkama, it was always early in the morning. Hilchach Yerida Tiksiv Vayerid Moshe min Ahar Elaham V'yikadosh Hasham. That pasha talks about when Moshe Rabbeinu told the Olam to be Parish, Dainu Prisha Bashkama Shravi Hosa. Yes, it was on a Wednesday, like Rabbi Yosy said, but it wasn't Wednesday afternoon. It was Wednesday before Alois HaShachar, because he arrived very early in the morning. So since he got down very early in the morning, and as soon as he arrived, he told them, you have to separate from your wives. So the full Wednesday, they were already separated from the wives. Since first thing in the morning, he separated them from their wives. Because let's figure this out. First thing Wednesday morning, he told them you have to be parish. So they got him the whole day Wednesday. They got Wednesday night. Then they got Thursday night, and Friday day. So they had full 5 oinos. So that's how Rabbi Kiva would learn that it was very first thing Wednesday morning that they had to do their prisha according to Yosy. So how do you see that it was first thing in the morning? You go down, and you'll come up with Aaron. Makish Yerida Laliyah. The Torah is being makish the Aliyah to the Yerida. Ma Aliyah be'ashkama. She's like the Aliyah was be'ashkama. Af Yerida be'ashkama. So to the Yerida was be'ashkama. So, so it says, Vayashkim Moshe ba'boiker, meaning it was very, very early. Vayal, he went up. And so that's how you know it went up early. And when it says Lech Red Valisa, you learn that he also came down early. Why? So now the Gemara asks, so he told me Wednesday morning, very before daybreak, he told them, today, Wednesday, you're not allowed to be mishamish with your wives. And moving forward till Shabbos. I'm sorry?
How could Baboiker be before daybreak? Baboiker means after daybreak, no?
Well, we're learning it was Bashkama. We're learning that this was Bashkama, and they had the full oin of Wednesday. So maybe it was after the before Nates. Maybe it was before Nates. I'm not sure.
Vayashkim Baboiker?
Yeah. So it was Boiker already.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I know when you wake up, Baboiker, Chaim Tzvi, is it long before Nates?
When I behave.
That's a good ha'ara. The Yashkim Boiker, you're saying as early as it was already daybreak.
That's what Boiker means.
But the Gemara Vayistachos is learning it was before daybreak. It was enough that they could get the full oinis. Now we know when it comes to oinis of these types of things, we always count with nates. So maybe the boiker means by alois, and as long as they were perished by nets, they were okay. But it's a good point to bring up. Yeah.
Didn't we have a Gemara in Brachos that we called night into nates, right? By Krishma, there was a mandamer, so there was sometimes an overlap, even though
we had that.
this was the kind of question that that David was going to ask, but I didn't hear him asking it, so I had to ask it for him.
Okay, so that's what we
Sorry, I got distracted.
Thank you, Chaysi, for coming to the rescue. So what David is saying, you're right. He would have asked it, so it's good you asked it. Okay, Zok the Heilige Gemara. Why would Moshe need to tell them Wednesday morning not to have relations with their wife? Anyway, during the day, they wouldn't have relations with their wife. Yisrael Kedoshim Heim. Ve'ein Misham Shemay the same Bayoim. Yisrael are Kedoshim. And it's not sneezed to be Mishamish by day, so they wouldn't have done it anyway. So why couldn't Moshe wait until later in the day to tell them? And not worry to have to tell them first thing in the morning, because anyway, they wouldn't have been Mishamish. Maybe Moshe knew that not all Kedoshim are created equal. I don't know. Ha'amar Rava said, Im hoya beis awful mutter, if it was a dark home, then it's going to be mutter. V'amar Rava v'temer papa, Talmud Chacham mafel b'talisa mutter. Talmud Chacham can darken it with his house. Why can a Talmud Chacham do it? Shahut Tsanua. He's Tsanua. V'lo yistakel. And he's not going to look. So even though it's not pitch black because it's nighttime, it's ksogilei b'mafel b'talisa. It's enough to be dark in his room. So this is another kasha for David. And that is, how could you have a Talmud Chacham if there's no Torah? Mit vusig a Talmud Chacham. You need to have at least one sugya you could lump them about. So they asked that. So
Okay, well, there is a teretz to that.
And what's the teretz? You're going to say the
Mora.
teretz.
We had
Exactly. They already had Masechah Shabbos.
Yeah.
They already had Masechah Shabbos. So Shonayimel, there's plenty to be a Talmud Chacham about.
I'll ask another kasha. How can you have something mutter for a Talmud Chacham, but a regular person? Only a Talmud Chacham would make such a halacha.
It's called the professional courtesy.
Everybody else can't do it.
Oh, you have that with Tumas and Maestro sometimes. I'm like Chacham.
Oh, I asked the same question. It's a two-tiered system.
What did
Executive privilege.
No, today with Art Scroll, everybody's a Talmud Chacham.
Okay.
What did the Koil in Goshen of the Levim, what did they learn all day? If there was no Torah, what did they do? Just drink coffee? There was Torah to learn.
No, they might have done what Talmidei Chachamim are allowed to do by Yom, and that's why it says of Bnei Yisrael, Paru vayishritzu vayirbu b'mayit b'mayit.
Listen, we know Levim were the smallest Shevet, right? They didn't succeed at that either.
Okay, let's see what the Gemara says.
Eglah Rufa, don't remember Yosef and Yaakov? He sent them a Golas Pashup Pshat.
Yeah.
Rashi says the Eglah Rufa was the last time they let off from.
Right.
It was the end of Saita.
Right. The Gemara says that when Yaakov Avinu saw that he was still kvetching on the same sugya for 7 years, Yaakov said he told Yehuda, you better open up a new yeshiva. Because that yeshiva, I'm not telling my kids to that yeshiva, Kom Lent Nepis. But then they answered, what are you talking about? Yosef learned Taf Yomi. It was 7 years later, so he was back at the same sugya. Okay. Zog the Heilige Gemara weiter. So Talmud Chacham Malva B'Klisha Mutter. So that's why he had to tell them. He had to tell them for the Talmidei Chachamim. Because for the Hamoinam, they wouldn't have been mezavik with their wives. Frek the Gemara, but Tefillah Yominu. They toiveled Friday night, right? So if they toiveled Friday night, we know that normally when you toivel, you're at full yom, which means you have to wait for the next sunset after the tefillah. So if they toiveled Friday night, then the next sunset after the tefillah would have been Motzei Shabbos. Yet Kabbalah Satorah was Shabbos day. How could they do that? Zoktamara, Abaye bar Ravin, Rabchina bar Avin, Damri Tavayu, Nitin LaTorah L'Tful Yom. As a matter of fact, the Torah was given to a Tful Yom. And if they toiveled Friday night, they would have been at Tful Yom. And therefore, and they got the Torah anyway, the Torah was given to Tful Yom. Yosef Meremar, the Ka'amar law, Shmaitzer. Meremer was saying over this halacha, this story, that based on the cheshbon, where it's possible that they were at Tful Yom, because we don't know for sure that people were mishamish Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon. We don't know for sure. We just know that's when Moshe told them to stop. It's possible that that their wives had headaches the 3 nights before, and it wouldn't be Negeya. But nevertheless, the possibility definitely exists that they were at Tfil Yoim, and the Tefillah Friday night would not have had Harav Shemesh. So Amalei Ravila Remember, Nitnika Amrit or Ruya Kamrit. Do you mean that there were actually Tefillah Yoim, meaning there were actually women who were Meshamish with their husbands up until the cutoff point, and then when they toiveled, they had to have toiveled Friday night, which means Shabbos morning they were actually Tefillah Yoims? Did that actually happen? Or Ruya Kamrit? The Torah says you have to separate at that point, and if you would be at Tefillah Yoim, you'd be able to come to Kabbalah Torah anyway, but maybe it didn't happen. Maybe in actuality, they all had headaches a couple of nights before, and therefore they were actually Torah. Maybe they toiveled, they knew they were already 3 days since the last Biyah. Maybe that happened already Thursday night, and maybe they already toiveled Friday morning or something. So that's the question. We know that the Torah allowed a Tefillah Yoim to come to Matan Torah, but what actually happened? I'm just saying that it was possible, but in fact, that's not what happened. So Rashi, it's possible that they could have happened that way. The Kasavi Hanin Tanoi, these Tanoim holds, like be the Torah al Tefillah Yoim, the Torah was a makbid, the legs of Harav Shemesh, Elul in Yinkachim. This whole concept that you have to wait for the tefillah to work until the following nightfall, that's a halacha chum of kachim. Hilchach kol gimel yamin ha'amurim l'yin prisha. All these 3 days discussed by prisha relative to Kabbalah Torah, whose is kaidim tefillah, they were before the tefillah. Lamaisa, that's not what happened. Lamaisa, they were able to toivel earlier. And they all toiveled on Friday, and they happened to not have been pilot. So even if there was a biyah that was after the cutoff point, or at the cutoff point, there was no plita. After there was I don't know if it's a nace, but after they toiveled on Friday, nobody was pilot, so there was no issue. If it would have happened that they would have ejected some zera, they would have taka toiveled again. But in fact, that didn't have to happen. Frek the Gemara, the litvalu beni shimshi, the kabbalah Torah beni shimshi. If that's the case, why weren't they toivel late Friday afternoon and Kabbalah Torah could have been Friday night? Why wait till Shabbos morning? Zok Rashi, the litvalu beni shimshi, the litvalu kabbalah Torah beni shimshi, leile Shabbos kari beni shimsha, b'chol duchta. Friday evening is called Beis Shimsha. Friday night is referred to as Beis Shimsha. Because the Bein Hashmoshes of Friday night is different than that of all other days, because it makes a huge difference Friday afternoon between day and night. According to Rabbi Kiva, according to Rabbi Kiva, that you need to have 5 full oinois, which was Wednesday day, Wednesday night, Thursday day, Thursday night, and Friday. According to Rabbi Kiva, like Pida Ella al Chomesh, you need 5 oinois. Well, guess what? The end of the 5 oinois was Friday night. So then, Lama loy kablua balayla. Why wasn't Kabbalah Torah by night? They had a phenomenal sound and lighting system at Har Sinai. It could have been at night. With the hintum at Aboiker, from the fact that the Rebbeinu Shalom waited till Shabbos morning to give the Torah, ikala meimar shekpida al pleitas halayla because of oinois. Maybe in fact, you need 6 oinois, because otherwise the Torah would have been given Friday night. Rabbi Yitzchak, shelo yehei halalu hoichin lekabbalas Torah v'halalu hoichin letefillah. This is the spar that Rashi alluded to earlier. If in fact you need 6 full oinois, according to Rabbi Kiva, and in fact the reason why the Torah was not given Friday night, and the fact that the Torah wasn't given Friday night was because of the 6th oinah, the Torah wouldn't have been given Shabbos day either. You know why? Because then some women would have had to run to the mikveh before they went to Kabbalah Torah, and that would not have been appropriate. So therefore, you can't bring a raya from here that you need 6 full oinahs. So we still need a reason why was the Torah given by day. It wasn't because they couldn't toivel, because of the fact it's only 5 oinahs that you need. So why taka wasn't the Torah given at night? The Chum hold it's sheish oinois shleimois beina. The Chum actually hold even more Chum. We have 3 Shitas. Now we have even a more Chumatic Shita that you need 6 full Einos, which means that if they only were Pirish from their wives Tuesday night, then they still have to wait Friday night. Omer Abchista, Machloikish Shapir Shemin Isha. Okay, so this is the end of one sugya, and according to the Chachamim, you would need 6 full Einos. Okay, Zok to Gemara. Omer Abchista, Machloikish Shapir Shemin Isha. The shiloh that we have here is only if the zera came out of a woman, and we say that when the zera is in a woman, for 3 days, it's going to retain its potency and therefore its tumah. Aval Pirshim in ish. What if we have zera that came out of a man and it never went into a woman? It's on a beged. So the halacha is Tameya kol zman shileicha. As long as it's still moist, it's going to be tamei. So there's no 3-day time frame. It's all based on whether it's dried up or not. If it's dried up, then it's going to be tar. But if it's not dried up, it's going to be tamei. And Rashi tells us, what does that mean? Once it's dry, it won't be mitama, even before 3 days, because it loses its potency. So let's see what the Gemara says. The pasuk says, "V'chol beged, v'chol ar, asher yi olav shich v'zera." Any beged or ar that has shich v'zera on it. Prat lich shich v'zera sheisrucha. That tells us that shich v'zera, that srucha, would not have an issur, would not be tummy. My love, the pasuk pshat is shepirshim and ish. It's speaking the words pirshim and ish. And you see, it's not totally whether if it's wet or dry. It's totally and if it's srucha, which is the 3-day thing that we said. So the question is, how could you Rav Chisda say that when it comes out of a man, it's never in a woman's body? It's only totally on whether or not it's moist or dry. You see from this pasuk, from this brisa, the dash of this pasuk, that it's totally in srucha, which means it is totally in 3 days. And my love Shapirshamish, Pashas, this is talking about how was it found on the beged? Because it went from a man onto the beged. So the case of the pasuk is a chiddush. It's not speaking where it went straight from the man onto the beged. Rather, this was a beged that maybe a woman was wearing, and she was pilot shechvazera. Once it's in her, it's totally in suruach. It's totally in 3 days. Now we're going to have a question. I don't know. I don't understand the mitzvahs of this question. Maybe you'll be able to help me. Boyer Papa, shich v'zera shel Yisrael b'mekutis. If somehow shich v'zera of Yisrael was found inside a kutis, I have no idea how this is shaykh. I'm not sure how this possibly could have occurred. You'd have to use your imagination because I don't know. So what happens if there was shich v'zera inside?
Artificial insemination.
Oh, okay. Ik gedacht, weißt du ja? Patch.
Well, didn't we have a case? Somebody fell off a roof and landed on a woman.
That's right. Oh, okay. So that's Isaac is a shayla. Oh, that makes sense. That could be the shayla. So what happened is, what if you have that? What's halacha? There's this 3-day rule or 2-day rule of how long it takes for the shich v'zera to become seruach. Does it apply? Why shouldn't it apply? What should be the difference? Yisrael did the igi b'mitzvahs. Women, Jewish women, have Jewish mother's guilt. They're always nervous. Oy vey, this mitzvah, that mitzvah. So since they're always worried, it cooks up their body. Chavel gufayu. Their guf becomes warmer, and their guf causes the zera to spoil after 3 days. But akum, the loy digi b'mitzvahs, they're cool cucumbers. They don't have to worry. Maybe loy. Maybe the shich v'zera will actually last longer in the body of a kutus. Oy dilma, or maybe the opposite. Even the achlan shkotzim and ramoshim, they might not have mitzvahs, but they eat shkotzim and ramoshim, which also cooks up their bodies. Chavel gufayu. V'im timtza loymar. And if you're going to say even the achlan shkotzim and ramoshim chavel gufayu, well, what's the halacha if you find it b'mei behema? Please don't offer suggestions as to how this happened. What will be the halacha? Isha the Islay Preisner, a woman from her uterus till it leaves her body, she has a distinct, somewhat long vaginal canal, and that causes the masrachas. Although behemoth, the Leslie Preisner, a behemoth does not have a long vaginal canal. I guess right from the rechem it goes right out. Loy, you would not say that it becomes surach. Aduma loishna zok the Gemara teku. So this Gemara is very interesting because there's a shaila. What if we want to be mechala Shabbos to administer a medicine to a chayla that's being tested on goyim? Can you assume that that medicine is approved for use on Yidden, and would you be able to be mechala Shabbos for it? So the Chassam Sofer brings a raya from here, and he's machmer. The Chassam Sofer shtickle machmer that just because you find a refuah worked for a goy, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can be soymech on it that it'll work for you. But the Masham says that what are you talking about? For the Gemara, it says that we each have reasons why we are chavil. A Jewish woman because she's nervous because of the mitzvahs, a Goyish woman because of kachum or emotion. So they end up being the same. But regardless, the Masham says we're talking about safek pekuch nefesh. Whatever the doctors say will work, you do, and you don't ask questions because safek pekuch nefesh. Of course, you have to try everything that you could.
I think the Gemara just said teku because it didn't want to get into it.
I don't think the Gemara was afraid of controversy. Okay. Zok the Hela Gemara weiter. Tanu Rabban. This is a very, very fascinating sugya. What day of the week was the Torah given on? Zok the Gemara. Tanu Rabban. B'shishi b'chodesh nitnu aseres hadibros to Yisrael. The aseres hadibros were given on the 6th day of the month. We know it was on Shabbos. The question is, what day of the month was it? So it was the 6th day of the Chodesh. Rabbi Yosy Omer b'Shiva B'Ay. It was on the 7th day of the month. Omer Rava to Chula Amal b'Rosh Chodesh, also the Midbar Sinai. Everybody agrees that they arrived on Rosh Chodesh to Midbar Sinai. And the question is, was Rosh Chodesh Sunday, which would mean that Kabbalah Torah was on the 6th day of the Chodesh, or was Rosh Chodesh Monday, which would mean that Kabbalah Torah was on the 5th day of the Chodesh. Ksiv Hacha, it says here in the pasuk, Vayom Hazeh Bo Midbar Sinai. It says that at the beginning of the parsha that we quoted earlier. Ksiv Hasam, by Pesach HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodoshim. So it's the Hazeh Malahala Rosh Chodesh, just like the Hazeh there was referring to Rosh Chodesh. Afkan, so too over here, Rosh Chodesh, we're talking Rosh Chodesh. So we know everybody agrees that they came on Rosh Chodesh. And we also know the Chula Alma b'Shabbos Nitna Torah Yisrael. Everybody agrees that Kabbalah Torah was on Shabbos, because Ksiv Hacha Zachar Esyoy Ma Shabbos Lakachoy, Ksiv Hasam Vayom Moshe Elam Zachar Esyoy Maseh. So we know that they were both on Shabbos, and Zachar Esyoy Maseh was referring to Kabbalah Torah. Malahalan b'Tzumei Shoyim. It's well, just like there, it was Yom HaShabbos is talking about Shabbos day, not Friday night. Afkam b'Tzumei Shoyim. So let's see Rashi.
Didn't we learn that they, when they heard the Aseres HaDibros, the first, they moved 12 mil behind them? They moved back.
Right.
They're Mechal, the Tchum.
Oh, so if Yom Tchumen is their Raisa, you have a problem. If Yom Tchumen is their Branan, maybe it wouldn't be a problem. But did they move or were they thrown?
I understood that they moved, but who knows?
I
think they moved.
They didn't get up to the fourth commandment yet. They didn't get there yet. They didn't get to Shabbos yet. They were still by a Neichi, right?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay, so let's
Okay.
see what we have over here. But
Akiva, they were all said at one time the first time. Right?
All
Akiva,
10?
they were,
Yes, there is
all
such
10 were said at one time.
a myth.
Oh, it wasn't only Zachar v'Shamar b'Dibur Echad. It was all essentially it was B'Dibur Echad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
There is such a medrash.
The Hadich Siv, it says in the pasuk, "Vayichaseu ha'anam sheshes yom." The mountain was covered on 6 days. Vayikra al Moshe b'yom hashvi, and Hashem called out to Moshe on the 7th day. Svir lahuk Reb Yosy Glili the Amar b'per kama diyuma. He holds like Reb Yosy Glili the first parak of Yuma. Zehaya ma'isa achar Aseret Dibros. He'll learn that story occurred after the Aseret Dibros. If it's above b'chodesh, then the Vayikra al Moshe b'yom hashvi, that story would have occurred if you hold that Aseret Dibros was on day 6. Then the calling that Hashem made to Moshe on day 7 was obviously after Aseret Dibros. Reb Yosy Sfirlai, the Moshe v'chol Yisrael, oimdim l'kabel Aseret Dibros, v'leiba kosav el l'chala kavod l'Moshe. This extra Vayikra was only to show extra kavod to Moshe. But before we go weiter, in Bishleim according to us, where we get 2 days of Shavuos, so whether it was day 6 or day 7, we have it covered. But if you hold that it was day 7, what do the Israelis do? According to Israelis, you only keep Shavuos on day 6. They're actually on the wrong day. They have the Derech Eretz Kozmel Torah, and that's the furthest thing from the reality. So what's shot in them? So there's
we're not celebrating necessarily Matan Torah, and it doesn't say
exactly.
Right?
That's what the Ravash says. The Ravash says that the Yom Tov of Shavuos is not celebrating Matan Torah. It's celebrating the end of Shavuos Omer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And in the Chadami, they're not celebrating Matan Torah. The Yom Tov says that Vav Sivan, really the Torah, the Rebbeinu Shalom, when he set up the world, the intention was that Kabbalah HaTorah would be on the 6th day of Sivan. This is a Chiddush Tek Pshat, that the Kabbalah would be on the 6th day of Sivan. But the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't have control. It's totally in Kiddush HaChodesh. And when they saw the moon, and since they didn't see the moon until the next day, Rosh Chodesh was the next day. I'm sorry, they saw the moon earlier. Rosh Chodesh was the earlier day. So it came out that Shabbos was a day later. That's a little bit schwer to understand. The Beis Halevi says a simple pshat. The Beis Halevi says that even though the Aseret Dibros might have been on the 7th day, but Kabbalah HaTorah of Torah Shebal Peh for sure was on Vav Sivan according to everybody. So according to Beis Halevi, it's possible that we got Torah Shebal Peh even before we got Torah Shebiksav, even before we got the Aseret Dibros.
Kabbalah HaTorah, you mean not the Nasa Menishma part?
Well, on the 6th day of Sivan, the Chula Alma, which would have been Friday, according to the Mandamar who holds that Shabbos was day 7, was the 7th day of Sivan. But on Friday, which was the 6th day of Sivan, according to everybody, we were Makabel Torah Shebal Peh.
And that could fit in what we learned tomorrow, that the way had all those halachas before Matan Torah. So there was some kind of a Valpa going on.
Oh, so Tamid Chacham, you mean?
Saying there was a partial Torah Shabbat going on already.
Now the question is the luchas that we really remained with, we didn't get on Shavuos at all. The luchas from Shavuos were destroyed. The luchas that we remained with was actually on Yom Kippur. So why are we celebrating Kabbalah HaTorah on Shavuos, which is when we got the luchas that broke? Why aren't we celebrating Kabbalah HaTorah on Yom Kippur, which is the day we actually got the luchas that remained? So
because you can't ein marbim simcha b'simcha. You can't have simchas Torah on Yom Kippur.
But they say what they say al Pidech Musar. I don't know who he quoted from. Is that to teach us that we have to have the same cheshivas and celebration on broken luchas that we have on good luchas. So what's broken luchas compared to a Talmid Chacham who in his old age forgot his Torah? We have to have the same respect for shiver luchas, for somebody who was a Talmid Chacham and forgot his Torah, as we have to have for real Torah. Okay, so let's see what the Gemara says over here. So Ki Pligi, the Machlokes was whether or not it was on the 6th day of
sorry,
Sivan.
it's 7:40. Do you want to keep going? You have another rest stop coming
Just
up?
we're just at the bottom. Yeah. Ki Pligi b'kvi diacha. Rabbi Yosy said b'chad b'shabbato ikvar yacha. Rosh Chodesh was on Sunday. U'b'chad b'shabbat lo amru v'lo midi v'shum chol shel, and he didn't tell them anything on Shabbos because they just traveled. B'trei b'shabbat amaluhu b'atem tiyuli mamechos kohanim. So the first thing the first thing that Moshe told him was Va'atem Tili Amlechas Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh, and the Tlasa on the third day on the Amalu Mitzvah Sagbala. He taught him about the Mitzvah Sagbala. Barba Avud Prisha. So we'll stop here and we'll go through the psukim and see how it all fits in, and we'll see. In fact, it's not 100% in order, and we'll pick up with the Kabbalah's Torah tomorrow.
That's good.
Sure.
Am I-
Akiva,
Sorry, am I the only one that didn't know we changed the time? Was there a reason for that, or?
Well, I started writing it to you, Duvi. It's that backyard minyanim have become sanctioned. So
Oh,
people
really?
want to jump. Yeah. Yeah.
Like regardless
Is there
of
a
the
minion,
setup,
Akiva, that I
regardless of the setup of a minion?
invited to?
1 second. It has to fit existing rules of the government, which is 5 people per backyard.
Yeah, okay,
Akiva,
but
do you know a minion
what?
I can go to at 8 o'clock?
I do.
I may. Yeah. Yosy knows one.
I do.
Yeah.
well, that's
There's
cool.
a-
Well,
there's a
why you
minion
can't
that you
go.
could
You have to
see.
be in your own backyard, I thought.
There's a minion that you could see. You could see it from 77 Baycrest. If you come into the backyard, then you'll be able to see a minion going on in a neighboring lot.
Okay,
So
so,
I go.
okay. Hello, I thought we said that you have to be in your own backyard. Or you just have to be in a backyard with less than 5 people?
That's correct.
Like
5
Yosy
people.
said before, you got to use your imagination.
I know. I think it's very clear that the city allows 5 people to visit a specific person.
So
Or
can
5
I ask an
people.
anti-Semitic cynical question?
Have
What?
you ever asked those before?
Never. What?
So
and I'm
if
not
10
asking this
people
question.
are in one
A friend of a
backyard-
friend of a friend of a friend of
Do
a
you
friend
wanna
told me
keep
to ask this
streaming
question.
this live on YouTube, by the way?
Yeah, it's still streaming live. Should I shut it
That's
off?
fine.
I just want to know what changed from